Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. Today's July 23rd, and the death we're looking at today was a safe legal abortion from 1961, which was well before widespread legalization, even in California. But it illustrates that even when abortion was banned, doctors were allowed to take steps that they thought were necessary to preserve the mother's life. Now, in this case, it backfired. So the young woman in the case, Erika, was a Swedish immigrant. She'd entered the United States in 1951, and she married Arvid Peterson at Big Bear Lake in California in 1953 when she was 21 and he was 35. Their daughter Yvonne was born in April of 1955, and she was naturalized in 1956. Now, Erika went into Scripps Memorial Hospital in La Jolla, California on July 11, 1961 at the age of 28. And she was in the first trimester of pregnancy, and she was having trouble breathing. She was diagnosed with pneumonia, and she was put in a tank respirator, more commonly known as an iron lung. Now again, at this time, abortion in California was only legal if it was done to save the life of the mother. And Erika's physicians made the decision that they thought it would be best to abort the child as soon as Erika was judged well enough to survive the procedure. So on July 21st, Erika's condition was improved, so Arvid signed a consent form for the abortion, which was scheduled to take place 2 days later. So during the abortion, which was performed as scheduled on July 23rd, Erika went into cardiac arrest and they were unable to resuscitate her. So the abortion that was intended to save her life ended it instead. And Erika's is not the only death caused by doctors who recommended or excused abortion as a health-saving or life-saving option. Allegra Roseberry died after she was pushed into an abortion in order to obtain an experimental cancer treatment. I've talked about her several times in that she would have been allowed in the cancer program even though she was pregnant, but for some reason her doctors did not tell her that. They told her that she had to have an abortion to be eligible for the program, and apparently she balked at that because they further then told her that the baby was doomed anyway because of the treatment she had already undergone and her illness. Allegra wound up contracting a fatal infection with her quote-unquote doomed, perfectly healthy baby being aborted. Angelica Duarte sought an abortion on the advice of her physician and ended up dying under the care of an absolute quack. Barbara Hoppert died after an abortion recommended due to a congenital heart problem. Kristen Gilbert died after an abortion George Tiller justified on the grounds of maternal health. I'm guessing that his health grounds were that Kristen had Down syndrome. And a woman only identified as Molly, given the pseudonym Molly, who died when her doctors made the very dubious decision to perform a saline abortion to try to improve her chances of surviving a lupus crisis. But the point here with Erika's death is that the doctors were perfectly free to decide that, you know, they thought that an abortion would save or prolong Erika's life. Abortion was not otherwise legal, and they did it, and they were not prosecuted even though Erika died. And something else we need to keep in mind is that doctors will sometimes push for an abortion due to maternal conditions that don't make the pregnancy nearly as risky as the woman is led to believe. If you follow the link below, I provide a link to Dr. Thomas Murphy Goodwin's excellent Medicalizing Abortion Decisions, published in First Things magazine in March of 1996. And he gives some examples of women who were pretty much told they have to have an abortion. In the first case, a 21-year-old woman who was 19 weeks pregnant had been referred for an immediate abortion after being diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. She was very distraught at the idea of aborting her baby, so she was referred to Goodwin's high-risk obstetric practice for a second opinion. And the second evaluation found that her heart condition was mild and she was able to continue her pregnancy and have her baby successfully. Case number 2 was a 25-year-old woman, 12 weeks pregnant, who was diagnosed with a narrowing of a heart valve. Her physician recommended abortion, but Goodwin's practice suggested that she have a procedure done to correct the heart condition since it could be performed safely during pregnancy. Her doctor expressed concerns about liability if the patient did not choose to abort. Goodwin had only been called in for a consult, so he did not learn the final results of that woman's pregnancy. Case number 3 was a 38-year-old woman, 11 weeks pregnant, who was referred to Goodwin by her pastor. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer and was told she should abort her baby so that she could undergo chemotherapy. And she actually had the abortion scheduled. But apparently she went to her pastor in her distress, and the pastor referred her to a specialist. Goodwin's practice reviewed the chemotherapy regimen with her and explained that though the long-term effects were unknown, they did seem to be tolerated very well by fetuses if administered during pregnancy. So the patient's doctor did not want to assume the liability for the case. Notice it was a cover your ass thing. It wasn't about the mother or the baby. It was about being afraid of being sued. So Goodwin's practice managed the woman's chemotherapy, and she delivered a healthy baby. And the 4th case he covered in the article was a 20-year-old woman, 18 weeks pregnant, who was diagnosed with kidney disease that seemed to be due to a new onset of lupus. Her doctor recommended an abortion both for her own health and to avoid causing any harm to the fetus. Better a dead fetus than a harmed fetus, I guess. The patient did not want to abort her baby. Goodwin's practice told her that although the chances of carrying to term successfully were slim due to her condition, the abortion would have an unpredictable result on her own health. So the patient decided to continue with her pregnancy. And Goodwin's practice repeatedly had to demonstrate to other physicians that certain diagnostic tests they wanted to do would not harm the baby and thus could be safely performed during the woman's pregnancy. So this patient was able to pursue care for her own condition while pregnant without having to abort her baby. Now, sadly, she did go into premature labor at 27 weeks, and her baby subsequently died from an infection at 1 week of age. But this woman could live the rest of her life knowing that she did her best for her baby. She did not merely sign her baby's death warrant. Now, Goodwin lamented that many women wound up undergoing unwanted abortions of wanted babies because they were misinformed by their doctors. Now, some of these doctors were merely, albeit inexcusably, ignorant, but others recommended abortion purely to avoid potential liability. And this sort of bullying women into unwanted abortion seems to be some kind of common ground across the political spectrum.